education, I thought we'd start with the very first and perhaps the biggest issue for most people. And it doesn't matter whether you're young or old, procrastination is one of those things that can plague us and haunt us. It's always easy to be distracted by those things that are maybe easy to do, things even that we want to do, and avoid the things that we know that we need to do. This, of course, is a problem for many teenagers, many young adults, and it's also a problem for adults as well. So there's a lot to be learned, and I think a lot that can be done. Procrastination is a learned behavior. We can change some of that learning. Well, one of the biggest barriers in overcoming any type of success is attending to doing the things that we need to do. We know what it is that we need to do. We know what it is that we want to achieve, but we still cannot get ourselves to take care of the things that we need to take care of. And perhaps, there's a fear element in there that gets in the way. We're fearful of doing the things we're supposed to be doing because there's a risk that even if we attend to those things, we may not be successful. And that's, again, the mind playing tricks on us. We have a lot of internal self-dialogue that takes place, and frequently it gets in the way. Well, let's first talk about what procrastination is. Well, the avoidance of doing a task that needs to be done, usually by doing low-priority tasks like socializing, watching some television, doing some cleaning. Facebook is a huge distraction, texting, and even Twitter these days. Procrastination is actually nurtured and a developed habit, and it's a habit like most other things, and it can be changed and altered. Procrastination is learned, therefore we can unlearn it. And finally, procrastination is a choice. Well, overcome the habit. There's a few steps that we can take, and the irony here is that it takes work to overcome procrastination, and it's procrastination trying to overcome that is something in itself that we can procrastinate. Well, the very first step for everyone is to kind of admit that you have a problem with procrastination. Once you've done that, then you move on to the second step and carefully examine why you procrastinate. There are various reasons for this behavior. Are your goals and your priorities clear? Do you really understand what it is that you want to achieve? In the literature it says that if you write down your goals, the opportunity to achieve them increases to 75%, whereas unwritten goals frequently and most often are not achieved. Some of us are afraid to write down goals because it's one more thing we can procrastinate over and feel guilty about. Are they really your goals, or are they the goals others have set for you? The role of parenting, the role of teachers in this whole education process is a difficult and complicated role to play. Sometimes we do the things that we do because others expect it of us, and I guess that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you can move to the point where you can internalize the things you know you need to do and do it for you as opposed to doing it for someone else, you'll make huge strides. So set your goals. Well, what does your procrastination look like? Because we can all be a little bit different. Usually our environment can play a role in procrastination. We tend to go to a specific location, in the home, at school, or a place we retreat to when feeling overwhelmed. And I guess that's part of it too. Procrastination lets us escape from that overwhelmed feeling. It can even be a specific time of day. Procrastination can leave you feeling guilty, unworthy, and cause you to lose sleep at night. So there's that whole stress component that could be tied in that you experience as a result of procrastination. So one of the first steps to do is to kind of be aware of your behavior. Oftentimes we do this on a very unconscious level. In education, we'd call this metacognition, where we actually think about our thinking. So when you find yourself drawn to those things that you want to do in avoidance of the things that you need to do, we just need to start first with recognizing what it is that we're doing. So then we say, okay, well, what is my avoidance activity? What is the location associated with that activity? So, is it at home? Is it in the family room? Is it at school? And perhaps even in the library or in the common area where students would gather? And the time of day associated with that. And tracking this almost like as if it was a food journal for eating, and you find out where your peak areas are. I can remember many years ago, decades ago, when working at quitting smoking, and I took a workshop through smoke enders, and you would track during the day when every time you had a cigarette it would be marked on your pack and what time of day and how many cigarettes, so you could find out where the major stressors of the day were for you. And even that habit too can be part of an avoidance technique in regards to procrastination. So there's a lot of value in working towards understanding, are there peak times a day, locations, and particular activities that you participate in. So awareness is the first step. The second step is to change your routine by changing your location or the time of day you plan to do things, so you can work around the patterns that you see develop. The goal really is to stop wasting time and actually take action. The third step, okay, so what are some of the take action strategies that we can step forward on? Well, first of all, set clear, realistic goals. Write them down in a day planner, and that can be paper or digital. And I know today with students, digital is a big part of things. Most devices, whether they be Android devices or iOS devices, usually have a to-do kind of planner where you could set aside a category for goals and record your goals in there and read them over. It could be a paper planner that you have on your desk while doing homework, and it with a schedule that's visible. So paper or digital, either will work. Make a daily to-do list and prioritize your tasks. Write the lists in your day planner, labeling each item with A, top priority, B, things you would like to accomplish that day, or C, tasks that can wait until another time. And then always work on A priority items first. Some digital to-do lists, like things, will break it down to today, next, or someday maybe items. But even if it's not a things to-do list, you can still use any to-do list to structure your planning in that way. So work in a distraction-free environment. This is a difficult one for many students. They have their devices on them almost 24 hours a day, and it goes off, and they attend to, of course, the text, which sort of reroutes them. Or they could be sitting in the family room, and there's a TV show that comes on, and they get taken away by that TV show. So a quiet location. I know there are some students, especially even students that suffer from attention deficit disorder, that listening to music can be a good tool to utilize your ability to focus. However, the other side of that is that listening to music can be another one of those distractors. So it's about establishing a routine and finding that place where you can actually go and sit. And whenever you do that, you've conditioned yourself to actually attend to the work and the things that you need to do. An example of this would be something as simple as you've got a desk and you have a lamp on that desk, and you get into the routine of turning on the light of that lamp. And you get to that point, whenever you sit at that desk to do work, that light is on. If you sit at that desk to do something other than work, you leave that light off. And it's one of those triggers that can help you focus more quickly. Complete your work first, then reward yourself. And the reward piece is also very, very important. Now, try to maybe avoid rewards as maybe food-based rewards. They might be get some fresh air, activity, talk with your friends, those type of awards. Use the 5 or 10 minute method. Commit to doing homework or study for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, decide whether you're going to continue or not. Now, the interesting piece is the hardest part of all of this, whether it be sitting down to write an essay or to do an assignment, the hardest step is actually beginning. Once you've begun, then you get into the zone, and things begin to happen. Take frequent breaks. You will actually accomplish more if you work for shorter periods of time with frequent breaks rather than for one long block of time. So if you plan on sitting down for 1 or 2 hours, some people can do that, but most cannot. So you might want to focus on, gee, can I work for 20 minutes? Can I work for 30 minutes? And then give yourself a 5 or a 10-minute break. Break major tasks into small pieces and take one step at a time. This is really a big part of getting things done by David Allen. And he calls them projects. And you could even think of them in terms of school as assignments. So let's say you have a major research paper due. Well, maybe the first step is to break it down and do a mind map in regards to the structure of the overall research paper itself. And then the next step might be to, which could be the next day even, might be to research one of the points for that particular essay, and then the next day would be to research another point and break it down into its small pieces, as opposed to sitting down for 8 or 9 or 10 hours, or sometimes with university students through the entire night to get things done. Make procrastination obvious. Put your to-do list on the fridge. Leave your daily planner open on the table, or leave your books out in a central location. Now, there's a little bit of a guilt factor associated with this particular activity, and if it'll work and it'll sort of trigger you to have that internal struggle and say, no, I have to sit down, then I think it's well worth it. Challenge faulty thinking that allows you to procrastinate. Keep your list of avoidance activities handy and take note of when you're actually procrastinating. Watch for statements, this sort of internal self-talk and dialogue that we use with ourselves, where we go, well, I don't feel like doing this right now, or I'll do it later, or the grass needs to be cut. Just be aware of your mental dialogue. Again, there's that mental cognition. Or metacognition. Just be aware of the thinking that you're actually doing. Now, this part you'll hear quite a bit through many of the episodes associated with Student Success HQ. And it's get enough sleep. Sleep is so important. Establish the routine. Maybe it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Whatever it is, so that you can get at least 8 hours. As a teenager, you're going through as much change and growth as you were as an infant child, and you need sleep as an important part of that process. Eat regular nutritious meals and snacks, and sometimes we feel that fast food because we're in a rush and a hurry. However, that poor nutrition quality can take its own toll. And then finally, the next piece in terms of the management of the stress, sometimes the management of the guilt that you may feel, exercise becomes a huge part of that management. I'm seeing today now more students suffering from issues associated with anxiety, and I think an important part of the management of that anxiety would be good cardio, even weightlifting, exercise on a daily basis. It'll help you sleep better, and it'll help you manage the stress. And then finally, do it now. Commit to taking some action and getting started. It's like this entire series on Student Success HQ. There's a lot here, and if you wanted to sit down and kind of take it in all in one day, basically you're going to be overwhelmed. There's too much here. What you need to do is to take small pieces, little bits, and then try to incorporate them into your routines. In conclusion, pay attention. Procrastination can consume you and overwhelm you, leaving you feeling guilty and even feelings of unworthiness. It's a process of small techniques to help you change behavior and move forward. We'll probably never conquer procrastination completely, but we can make significant headway in terms of its management so that we can reduce the impact it'll have on our life. So this is the second episode of StudentSuccessHQ.com, and I would ask that you share these with other individuals. You'll find the podcasts available in the iTunes library as well as in Stitcher. And the intent is, and this actually resulted as of a couple of years ago, one of my teachers came to me and she said, kids need instruction in terms of how to be students. And it seems to have gotten lost along the way. Yes, teachers are teaching bits and pieces here and there, but it's not an active, ongoing process. And it needs to be, I guess, a little bit more unified. And really, that's what student success is all about. So I'd like to thank you for listening today. I'd like to encourage you to know that really whatever you set your sights on is attainable. Hard work, of course, and persistence is a big part of that issue. But employing these variety of techniques that you're going to find in Student Success HQ will really help in moving you forward in terms of achieving the things that it is you want to achieve. Have a great day.